Now, as our new First Minister takes up the reins of high office, how many women are waiting in the wings to make their name in politics? And are they as confident in their skins as men are? Good Morning Ulster has witnessed the reluctance of some women politicians to agree to media interviews, and some communication experts are saying that will hamper their careers in the long run. Our reporter Maggie Taggart has been finding out if there is a problem here.
There's a whole raft of initiatives aiming to encourage women into politics and senior positions. Democracy, the Women's Initiative Network, the Centre for the Advancement of Women in Politics. Our new First Minister, Arlene Foster, has never been shy about her public profile. So why do some women seem to need encouragement? The former Education Minister, Catriona Ruane of Sinn Féin, thinks it's about role models.
Many women in society do not see politics as an arena or a space for them, because for too long they haven't been part of it. And I always remember when Mary Robinson got elected and she broke the mould, and by God did she break the mould. She was amazing, is amazing. And then I remember when Mary McAleese was going up, I remember my daughter saying to me, can a man go up to be President of Ireland?
Ray Hayden used to look after media relations for the Ulster Unionist Party, and he also offers media training courses for politicians and business people. Ray Hayden, you've done a lot of media work with lots of people, presumably women as well as men. Do you see a difference in the eagerness of women versus men to actually come out and talk publicly?
The women I've had dealings with are as enthusiastic about what it is they're doing as the men. Where it seems to fall down is when they go back to the office, and for some inexplicable reason, they're not given the chance, they don't push themselves forward.
Have you noticed politicians who have been reluctant to go on air to be interviewed?
I have. I've noticed some politicians who dislike the media for a variety of different reasons. Obviously, I'm not going to mention names, but they are there.
Sometimes females of any age are less eager than males to offer their opinions. Catriona Ruane has a theory.
Maybe sometimes we're too perfectionist and we think we have to know everything. I noticed at different times in my life and different jobs, I'd say, we need someone doing an interview today, 3 men in the room will put their hand up and no women. But so in the end I went into that meeting saying, there's an interview that needs to be done today, it'll be X, Y or Z doing it. And then I went to the women beforehand and said, now, it's part of your job. As your boss, I expect you to do it. It's really important. And the more the women do it, the more they just see it's just part of the job.
Sitting just outside the Senate room in the Assembly in Parliament buildings, I'm talking to Claire Sugden now, and you're a very new member of the Assembly. You're an independent unionist, but you're also involved in something called Politics Plus?
Politics Plus, yes. It was an initiative that was set up by the Assembly maybe just over a year ago. And I suppose the aim of that programme was to encourage MLAs and their staff to be better at their jobs.
Do you see a problem with some women politicians not speaking up?
Yes, and I certainly don't think it's because of capability, because I think all female MLAs that sit within the Assembly are more than capable. So perhaps it is more of a confidence thing.
The Republic of Ireland has introduced a gender quota for the next Dáil elections to increase the proportion of female candidates. We're a long way from agreement on that measure in Northern Ireland, but it won't stop the more radical politicians from trying to get quotas for winnable seats in the Assembly.
Maggie Taggart reporting. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Queen's University Professor Yvonne Galligan. She's Director for the Centre for the Advancement of Women in Politics, and Felicity Huston, formerly of the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition. Good morning. You're both very welcome to the programme. Yvonne, if I can begin with you, it's been a long time coming. Have you hopes for Arlene Foster and the mood, the environment she might create?
I definitely have. I think it's a great development for Northern Ireland. It's a great personal achievement for Arlene Foster, and it's a great political development, very symbolic for Northern Irish politics, and certainly a role model and an inspiration for women in Northern Ireland. So I think it bodes very well for the future.
Felicity, what do you think?
Well, I think it's marvellous. I mean, congratulations, Arlene. And I mean, I, as you mentioned, I was involved with the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition many years ago. You know, we've tried lots of different things to encourage women to come forward and get involved in politics. But I don't think Arlene or many of the other well-known women in politics have used those particular methods. You know, Arlene's got there by sheer hard work, and I think that's possibly what it's probably about and what's needed. And she will be a role model. People will think a First Minister's a woman, and so what? And that's what it's all about.
There are plenty of women doing the job currently, Felicity. If you look at the DUP, Michelle McIlveen, Emma Pengelly, of course, Sinn Féin, Michelle O'Neill, Katrina Rowan, Carol McKillen. Ulster Unionist Party, Joanne Dobson's very prominent there. Alliance, of course, Naomi Long, Anna Lowe, Nicola Mallon, SDLP. Do you think there's a new wave of enthusiasm and confidence coming through the ranks finally?
Well, I do hope so. I mean, I think still, you know, it's a boys' club in behind closed doors. The piece you had earlier about women not coming forward to speak and so on is because what happens when there is, who's going to speak? I can guarantee it'll be a man's name put forward, and that is one of the problems within the political world and public life in Northern Ireland in general. It is still a boys' club. And as Katrina said, men volunteer themselves when they don't know very much about it, whereas a woman tends to think she needs to know everything before she speaks. And that is an issue. And I think that's about seeing women just doing jobs and getting on with them and thinking, well, if she can do it, I can do it, and I don't have to be special or better than him to be able to do the job. I think that's a real experience that women have to have.
Yvonne, is that a picture you identify with? A former DUP member, Deirdre Nelson, is quoted in the Telegraph this morning, having written apparently on social media that the party, the DUP, is a cold house for women, and she says that as for their attitudes towards women's rights and any kind of equality, it's non-existent.
I think there's a real issue here. I think there have other places show us that there have been plenty of women who have come forward in Scotland and Wales, for example. They've come forward since 1998 to contest elections. So I think there is plenty of talent within parties and within civil society among women who are capable of and waiting to run and to engage in politics. The problem is that the political parties have their own bias in this area and see that politics really is a man's job, whether they're conscious of that or not conscious of it, and they continue to prefer to select male candidates. And the problem here is that if we keep going at the rate we are going, it will be 2076 before we have a gender equal assembly. Now, I don't think that the women of Northern Ireland, or even many of the men of Northern Ireland, want to wait until that time.
Let's have a listen to what the DUP's Edwin Poots had to say to Mrs Foster during his speech welcoming her to her new role, and then I'd like to get your reaction. Listen to this.
Congratulating Arlene on her elevation to First Minister. I would say that is the second most important job that she will ever take on. Her most important job has been and will remain that of a wife, a mother, a daughter, and family will always become first. And I know that will be the case with Arlene and should be the case.
Felicity.
Oh dear, poor Edwin. I'm sure he meant it kindly, but it really does show a man deeply out of touch with the 21st century. I mean, it just comes, you know, one makes one cringe. I don't think he meant it as a sort of slur on her, but I'm quite sure if that had been a man as our new First Minister, he wouldn't have been commenting on, amongst other things, his role as a son, because Arlene may have chosen to be a wife and a mother, but her function as a daughter is just merely that of her birth, and it really is, like, hard to believe that he would say that, but it just says a lot about it. I think he's just very out of touch.
You say he's very out of touch, and yet there's not a word wrong in what he said.
Oh no,
you know,
I'm a mum and a wife and a daughter as well. And I mean, mum is the thing that you will have till the day you die. You know, you will always be a mother, whatever, once you have children. Oh no, that's why I say I think he was trying to be kind. I think he was actually trying to, in his own really awkward and gauche way, say that Arlene is more than merely First Minister. She has these other roles too, which is something one has to recognise. I mean, men are our husbands and fathers and sons as well, but women have this, the way our society is, have this extra role as well. And I think that's what he was trying in a very awkward and cumbersome way to say.
He did, of course, speak at length about her abilities, her achievements, her capabilities. Yvonne, do you think it's easier for a woman to get on if she suppresses that more maternal side of her life?
I think the odds are stacked against women in public life in general. And it's not a surprise to find that women politicians are less likely to have children, are less likely to have as many children as male politicians, are less likely to be married or in a relationship as male politicians. And that goes right across this island. That goes more generally across the world. And that basically tells us that women have to make sacrifices that are not asked of men if they want to engage in political life. Whether that's fair or not is another matter, but it actually is a fact.
I think when Margaret Thatcher was initially selected as a candidate, or trying to be selected as a candidate, for Parliament, the main issue for all the selection committees was what was going to happen to her children.
Just looking at some copy that has reached me this morning, Felicity. Apparently Edwin Poots on Facebook yesterday posted, when I was Health Minister, I described it as the second most important job I had ever done, the first being a husband, father and son. So in wishing Arlene Foster well in her new role as First Minister today, I said it was her second most important job, the first being a wife, mother and daughter, because family always comes first. Some silly liberal types have attempted to misconstrue this as sexist. Arlene will make a great First Minister, not least because she cherishes the family and its values.
Exactly, that's what I said. He was trying to pay her a compliment. Unfortunately, he went about it in such a way that he raised people's hackles rather than doing it in a more elegant and gracious way. So he was recognising that she does all this. She is doing more than another First Minister would do because of her other roles. But unfortunately, the way it was put, people just cringed.
There we go. We'll leave it on that note. And if you'd like to get in touch and let us know what you think of Edwin's comments or indeed Arlene's appointment, and whether perhaps you're a woman in politics and feel that life is easier perhaps than has been construed.